Mazda just did something that nobody saw coming. Not the industry, not the analysts, not even the people who have been watching this brand for decades. The 2026 Mazda CX-100 is not an upgrade. It is not a refresh. It is a complete and total rethinking of what a full-size luxury SUV is supposed to be, and if you leave right now, you are going to miss the one thing about this vehicle that genuinely changes the conversation about where Mustang is headed and why the biggest names in luxury should be watching very closely. Welcome back to the Car Analyst, the channel where we go past the press releases, past the marketing language, and straight into what actually matters about the machines that define their era. If this is your first time here, you picked a remarkable moment to join us. And if you have been here before, you already know we do not waste your time. So let us get into it. The CX-100 arrives at a moment when the full-size SUV market has been comfortable for too long. The same silhouettes, the same predictable cabins, the same 3 or 4 brands passing the trophy back and forth like it belongs to them by default. What Mazda has done here is step onto that stage uninvited, underdressed by nobody's standards, and proceeded to redefine what presence actually looks like. And we need to talk about that exterior first, because before you ever open a door or press a button, this vehicle communicates something that the others simply do not. The design language Mazda calls Kodo has always been about the soul of motion. The idea that a vehicle should look like it is alive even when it is standing still. On the CX-100, that philosophy has been taken to a scale it has never operated at before. This is a large SUV with the proportions to match, but Mazda's designers have done something extraordinary with the surface work. The flanks of this vehicle are almost architectural, long, sweeping planes of metal that catch light in ways that feel more like sculpture than engineering. The Thal red crystal finish, which has been a Mazda signature for years, reaches a new level of drama on a body this size. It does not just look red. It looks like it is lit from within, like the paint itself has some kind of internal energy. The front fascia is where Mazda has made its most audacious statement. A wide, vertical grille with intricate fin-like detailing fills the face of the CX-100 in a way that commands attention without screaming for it. There is a chrome-accented framing around the grille that ties into a thin, full-width LED light bar at the top of the hood line, giving the front an expression that is somewhere between confident and composed. It does not have the aggression of a German competitor or the flamboyance of an American rival. It has something harder to define and more difficult to copy, and that is a kind of dignified authority. The wheels deserve their own moment of appreciation. Large, multi-spoke, dark alloy wheels fill the arches with a presence that makes the CX-100 sit on the road like it belongs there permanently. The tires are low profile, which gives the vehicle a planted, athletic stance that most 3-row SUVs sacrifice in the name of ride comfort. Mazda seems to be arguing you do not have to choose, and we will get to what that means in terms of dynamics shortly, because there is something about how this vehicle drives that you genuinely will not expect. The rear of the CX-100 is where the design closes with particular confidence. A full-width LED tail lamp connects the two sides of the vehicle in one unbroken light signature, a detail that has become something of a prestige calling card in this segment. On the CX-100, Mazda executed cleanly, without clutter, without visual noise. The greenhouse above is a sleek, panoramic expanse of glass with a black contrast roof treatment that separates the cabin from the body in a way that makes the vehicle look simultaneously sportier and more premium. Dual exhaust outlets are integrated into the lower rear bumper with the kind of restraint that tells you Mazda is not trying to impress you with theater. They're just there, quietly doing their job, as everything on this vehicle seems to be. Now let us step inside, because this is where the CX-100 makes its most powerful argument. And there is one specific detail in this captain that I want you to hold in mind as I describe it, because when I get to it, the way Mazda has approached this element will tell you everything about what kind of brand they are trying to become. Open the door, and you are greeted by an interior that does not feel like it belongs to a Japanese automaker. It does not feel like it belongs to a German automaker either. It feels genuinely singular. The entirety of the cabin is swathed in crimson red leather. Not just the seats, the dashboard, the door panels, the steering wheel, the headliner. Mazda has committed to a color story in here that takes real conviction to pull off, and they pull it off completely. The red is not garish. It is deep, rich, and applied with such precision across every surface that it reads as luxury rather than extravagance. This is the kind of interior decision that becomes iconic. The kind of thing people remember 10 years from now when they're talking about which vehicles got it right. The seating itself is exceptional. Wide, deeply bolstered front chairs with a supportive structure that manages to feel both relaxed and engaged. This is important for a vehicle that is equally at home on a city street and a long motorway cruise. The materials quality throughout is flagship grade, with wood and metal trim accents deployed sparingly enough to feel intentional rather than decorative. Every surface your hand touches has been thought about. The gap tolerances, the stitching, the weight of the controls, all of it communicates a brand that has moved into a different conversation entirely. The technology architecture inside the CX-100 is what brings us to that detail I mentioned earlier. Mazda has installed a wide panoramic display that combines the digital instrument cluster and the infotainment system into one continuous visual field. It is positioned at a natural eye line, which sounds obvious but is something that many manufacturers get wrong, requiring drivers to look down or across in ways that interrupt focus. Here, the information comes to you. The system itself is driven by Mazda's next-generation AI platform, which learns driver preferences over time, adapts the interface based on context, and integrates with connected services in a way that feels seamless rather than bolted on. We are seeing more of this kind of deep software integration in new vehicles. But what Mazda has done differently is keep it from feeling like a tablet mounted in a car. It feels like part of the vehicle's personality. The rotary dial in the center console remains, a deliberate choice in an era when many brands have gone fully touchscreen, and this is where Mazda reveals something about their philosophy. They understand that some physical interaction should remain physical. Operating your audio or your navigation while moving is safer and faster when your hand can find a knob without looking. The combination of the large screen for visual interaction and the rotary for tactile control is not a compromise. It is a considered position, and it results in one of the most intuitive cabin experiences in this segment. Connectivity here includes wireless integration for smartphones, a wideband Wi-Fi hotspot, and over-the-air update capability, which means this vehicle can receive software and feature improvements without you ever taking it to a dealer. This matters more than those buyers currently realize, because it means the CX-100 you buy today can become meaningfully more capable over the coming years. New driver assistance algorithms, updated navigation data, interface refinements, all of it delivered silently while the vehicle sits in your driveway overnight. The driver assistance suite on the CX-100 represents Mazda's most advanced safety thinking to date. Adaptive cruise with stop-and-go capability, lane centering, blind spot monitoring with active intervention, rear cross-traffic alert, and a surround view camera system that makes maneuvering a vehicle of this size remarkably straightforward. There is also an intelligent emergency braking system that has been expanded to recognize cyclists and pedestrians at highway speeds, a detail that reflects how seriously Mazda has taken the real-world safety brief here. These are not features that exist to tick boxes on a specification list. They are integrated into the vehicle's behavior in a way that makes them genuinely useful, present without being intrusive. Now let us talk about what is under the vehicle, because this is where I want to separate the CX-100 from the assumption that a vehicle this beautiful must have compromised on substance. Mazda has approached the powertrain question with the same thoughtfulness they've applied to every other element of this vehicle. The CX-100 is expected to be available with a turbocharged inline-six petrol unit, drawing from the architecture Mazda has been developing for its flagship models, a smooth, carrot-full engine that delivers the kind of performance a vehicle in this category demands without the mechanical drama that some turbocharged engines can exhibit. But more significantly, Mazda has designed the CX-100's platform to accommodate electrification natively. A plug-in hybrid configuration is expected to be part of the lineup, pairing the combustion engine with an electric motor in a way that adds performance at low speeds while significantly reducing fuel consumption on daily commutes. This is not electrification as a concession. This is electrification as an enhancement, and the distinction matters. The suspension setup on the CX-100 uses an adaptive air suspension system that adjusts continuously to road conditions, driver inputs, and the driving mode selected. In comfort mode, this vehicle moves over imperfect surfaces with the kind of planted, quiet serenity you expect from a vehicle at this price point. In sport mode, the body control tightens perceptibly, the steering sharpens, and the CX-100 communicates something that most three-row SUVs simply cannot, which is that it genuinely enjoys being driven. Mazda has always understood the emotional side of the driving experience, and scaling that understanding up to full-size SUV proportions is perhaps the CX-100's most impressive technical achievement. All-wheel drive is standard, drawing from a system that distributes torque with precision across all four corners based on real-time surface and stability data. In normal driving, you will never think about it. In a moment where you need it, it will already have responded before you have consciously registered the situation. In terms of practicality, the CX-100 delivers exactly what a full-size SUV buyer expects, and then a little more. The three-row configuration accommodates 7 or 8 passengers depending on specification, with genuine usability in the second row and respectable access and space in the third. The cargo area behind the third row is functional for everyday loads, and with the seats folded, the CX-100 opens up into a genuinely vast flat space. The available powered tailgate, hands-free operation, and configurable load management features make it a realistic choice for families who do not want to compromise daily practicality for the sake of driving experience. They should not have to, and with the CX-100 they do not. This brings us to who this vehicle is actually for. And this is a question worth answering honestly rather than with marketing language. The CX-100 is for the buyer who has done very well but has never been particularly drawn to conspicuous consumption. It is for the person who wants a vehicle that their equally discerning friends will recognize as exceptional rather than merely expensive. It is for the family that travels together regularly and wants a cabin that feels like a destination rather than a transit. It is for the driver who still cares about the act of driving, even in a large SUV, even in a daily commute. It is, in short, for a buyer that the other brands in this segment have historically taken for granted. What Mazda has built with the CX-100 is not just a competitive vehicle, it is a statement of identity. It says that a Japanese brand can operate at the very top of the luxury segment without borrowing an aesthetic from Germany or a scale from America. It says that Kodo design philosophy is not limited to compact crossovers. And it says, perhaps most powerfully, that the next great chapter in luxury motoring does not have to come from the places we have always looked. The 2026 Mazda CX-100 is not a perfect vehicle. No vehicle is, and any channel that tells you otherwise is selling something. But it is a vehicle that makes you feel something from the moment you see it to the moment you sit up out of it. It is ambitious, resolved, and executed with a level of care that is increasingly rare in an industry that often confuses complexity with quality. Mazda has not added more here. They have refined more. And in doing so, they have produced something that feels less like a product announcement and more like a declaration. If you found this breakdown genuinely useful, if it changed or deepened how you think about this vehicle or this segment, please hit that like button because it truly helps this channel continue doing this kind of work. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of what is coming in the automotive world, not just what is trending, and leave your honest reaction in the comments. We read them all, and the conversations that happen down there are often sharper than anything you will find in an official review. We will see you in the next one.